Hey guys, Honey Badger here, and today I am going to attempt, and I quote, attempt, to do some type of review slash tutorial slash guide or gotcha on something that I haven't seen many videos out there on, and I haven't seen a ton of information also as I've been searching on this stuff, and yes, you guessed it, it's the notorious wallbreaker. So we've all had our wallbreaker fails. Almost every war or farm raids, everyone, you're always saying like, oh, what the heck are my wallbreakers doing? Why are they going this way? Stupid wallbreakers, change the AI. What's going on? Why are they targeting this wall and that wall? And I'm going to attempt to explain, based on the information I've gathered and some other videos that I've gathered as well, their basic algorithm and why, in certain videos that I'm going to show why they're doing what they're doing, and hopefully this will help at least someone. It's helped me a little bit. I'm just kind of studying it here. So I think first though I'm going to show a video it's like 3 years old, but I think it still applies because the basic wallbreaker algorithm I think is still there. There was a point I think last year where they reverted, or they changed it, and people were posting videos and wallbreakers were doing all wacky kind of things and targeting these inner walls when they really shouldn't be, and it was crazy. So, and then I think the Supercell reverted it back because it was so crazy. So now it's at I think a decent point, but I still want to try to explain why some of these wallbreaker fails, if you will, are happening. But first, I want to show this video. It's like 3 years old, but it explains the basic wallbreaker AI and pretty well. And so I'm just going to play that first. It's by this guy named Flammy. He used to play Clash account. He was pretty popular a few years ago when the game just started. So I'm just going to play that, and then I'm going to go into some replays of my own that I've collected. So right before I show the video, I just want to quickly show in words what the algorithm as I understand it is, just so you keep it in mind, just kind of a preface to the video, right? So the wallbreaker, when you deploy them, they will look for the nearest building that is trapped fully or partially. The definition of partially is kind of gone into a little bit more detail in the video. So that's kind of one of the key things. Like when you drop a wallbreaker, everyone thinks, okay, I dropped the wallbreaker, I want it to target this wall. But you got to think in terms of buildings. When you drop the wallbreaker, it's actually targeting a building. But then it's choosing the shortest path to that building and blowing up walls along the way in that path, right? And so then, of course, if a wall is already blown up, it's going to, there's other wallbreakers on the battlefield, it's going to repeat that same algorithm and look for a new target. So without further ado, let me just play this video real quick.
Alright, so first off, what does it mean by trapped? Well, you can look here and we have 1 compartment, 2 compartments, and 3 compartments. This whole area in the middle, though, is open to the outside, so it's not actually considered trapped. However, that might actually be considered partially trapped, so we'll talk about that later. Alright, so what does it mean when we place a unit? It means the wallbreaker is going to look for one of the buildings inside of one of these compartments. It's not going to look at any of the buildings outside of the compartments at all, so not this and not this. Alright, so what if we place a wallbreaker right here? What's it going to do? Well, this is the closest trap building, so it's going to go for this compartment in the closest line. Bam. What if we place it right here? Well, then it's going to go for the closest trap building in this line. Bam. Now, let's see this in action. Ready? Okay, let's zoom in. Let's get ready with the wallbreaker, and let's place it. And bam, there's done. Now, what if we place another one in the exact same spot? Well, this building is now exposed, so it's no longer going to go for that. It's going to look for the next closest. Now, which one is that? Is that going to be this one or this one? Let's see. That's right, it's that one on the left. It's closer, which is what's going to make the difference here. But what if we didn't want to blow up the building on the left? Then we can just deploy it more on this side towards the other one, and then the other one will be closest. Now, we could deploy it here to go for the right, or here to go for the left. Done. It's that easy. So, say we wanted to break into the center town hall here. How should we do it? Well, if we attack from the top left side here, we'd have to break into this compartment, and this compartment before we got to the center. But what if we attacked from the bottom side down here? Then we have to break into this compartment and this compartment. Remember, it's not going to count this compartment or this compartment because the buildings in them are actually pretty far away, so the town hall is going to be the closest one. Let's see this in action. So we'll try from the harder side first. Let's zoom in. Let's distract with a couple barbarians, and then we'll start with the wallbreakers. One wallbreaker here for this compartment, one for this compartment, and one for this compartment. Okay, those three compartments are now open. So now if we attack with any more wallbreakers, now they're only going to go for the center, like you can see right there. Now, what if we attack from the easier side? Let's deploy a couple of goblins to distract the traps. Then some barbarians to distract the units. 1, 2. Now that those are both detonated, we can distract again and go for the center. And then the wallbreaker goes for the center, just as we were hoping. Remember, the wallbreaker deployed here is not going to be targeting walls, it's going to be targeting buildings. So in this case, the town hall is going to be the closest. But what happens to a base where all the compartments are already open? So in this base, there's only one compartment. It's very large, however. So if we bust into one spot, we can consider the compartment open. Let's show you that now. One distraction, and then one wallbreaker to open it. Alright, so now it's open through this hole down here. Units can get into the entire bit. But what if we want to attack this other side? Will a wallbreaker still attack that wall? Yes, because this cannon up here is still considered partially protected. I'll show you that. Now it's open on two sides. What if we wanted the wallbreakers to bust into the town hall in the center area? Is it faster to walk around this side or this side to get to the center? Well, it might still be considered partially protected, but is sort of getting on the edge. There's enough ways in that it might be shorter to walk around, therefore causing the wallbreaker to look for a farther away target that's still partially protected. Let's try it out now and see if it's going to walk around or go through. We deploy the wallbreaker, and we can see it's heading right towards the center, so we know that town hall is still considered partially protected. But how far is that distance before it switches over between protected and not protected? Well, as you can see on this base, absolutely everything is only partially protected. Nothing's completely enclosed, so we know everything's going to be partially protected. We can test this with this mortar and this cannon on the bottom. So if we deploy a wallbreaker right here, we can blow up this first wall to help out. Now, if we deploy a wallbreaker right here, what's it going to go for? Well, the wallbreaker is going to say, is this mortar closer or is this cannon closer? So what happens when we deploy a wallbreaker right here? Well, first it's going to look for the nearest building, in this case the mortar, and it's going to count how many squares between it and the mortar, and that's going to determine if this mortar is partially protected or fully open. If it's close enough, that is, the number of squares is low enough, then it will look for the next target and see if that one is above the minimum required squares. Let's try it out here. If we deploy a wallbreaker right here, it's going for the cannon, so we know that mortar is close enough. But what if we deploy the wallbreaker a little farther away from the mortar? By a little bit of experimentation, we can tell how far the wallbreaker needs to be to consider a defense exposed or not. So, how about here? Still going for the cannon. 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 How about here? Oh, it switched over. So, from right there, we can tell and count the squares. Okay, starting at the mortar, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to this corner, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to right here, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to right where it spawned. So it looks like about 17 squares. This means that when a wallbreaker spawns, if there's a building that's 17 units away, then this building is considered closed. So if a building is 16 or 15 away, it's probably considered open. So in that case, if it's considered open, it'll go for the next closest building. In this case, it would go for the cannon and the inner walls. You can use this to target wall breakers at specific walls inside bases. You just need to know approximately how many steps it will take the wall breaker to get there to know what it's going to target.
Yeah, so this was just another farming raid I was doing, just kind of demonstrating some of the concepts. I wanted to get this North Wizard Tower taken care of and just demonstrate that I wouldn't be able to target this wall here unless I destroyed this cannon and this elixir storage, because otherwise the wall breakers would target them because they are enclosed buildings. So as you'll see, the wizards destroy those outer two buildings, and sure enough the wall breakers go center as expected because the nearest enclosed building is that wizard tower. So that's kind of all I wanted to show there. Another farming raid I was doing. As you'll see, I'll deploy a couple wall breakers here in the southeast, and they target that blue wall because that wizard tower is the nearest enclosed building. And I deploy a couple more, and sure enough, they go to that arch air defense because that's the nearest enclosed building. And now you might want them to go to the core at this point, but if you look closely, they will not, because the next two closest enclosed buildings are to the up top there, that mortar, and to the cannon to the left. So I just wanted to demonstrate that concept again. So on to a more complicated case that we ran into actually during our most recent clan war, was this case right here. So for a moment, imagine that these jump spells just were not here. Right? Let's pretend they are gone. Surely, if the wall breakers were deployed right where they are here, they would target this cannon first because it's the nearest enclosed building, and break the wall right there. I think we can agree on that. However, the jump spells in this case were deployed first, and so now this kind of complicates things, right? And I think this is debatable whether this should be the behavior of wall breakers or not. I'm sure there'd be a lot of arguments over this, people saying it's a bug or whatnot. For now, I'm not going to comment too much on it. It's just the way it is, and I'm just going to try my best to explain it. So since these jump spells were placed first, this cannon now is no longer considered enclosed, and really not even partially enclosed. I think if this wall were really long, like even longer, I think something in that tutorial video said something like 16, 17 length, or something like that, then the wall breakers would target it. But it's just not. It's not long enough. There's only a handful of walls here, right? So the wall breakers are no longer considering this cannon as enclosed. So they're going to target the next enclosed building, which is probably this Eagle artillery, or maybe even something over here. Let's just pretend it's the Eagle. I think it's this. I think they would have behaved the same in either case. Because now the wall breakers are considering the jump spell and using their shortest path to their target. So that's why I think they went to the edge of the jump spell, because that is the shortest path to the nearest enclosed building. Like I said, even if it were over here or something. And so that's why it went right to the edge of that jump spell. I think if we deployed them over here, you probably would have seen the same thing. It would have went right to the edge of that jump spell because it's quote-unquote using the jump spell, but of course there's a wall in the way, and so the wall breaker is going to break that wall en route to his shortest path to the nearest enclosed building. So I hope that makes sense. Again, I didn't write the algorithm. I'm just kind of trying my best to explain it. So I wanted to show one more video of this concept that someone else posted, using wall breakers with the jump spell. You'll see he deploys a few there, and as expected they go to that cannon because this is the nearest enclosed building. Now with the jump spell down, you'll see that they are targeting that wall right on the edge of the jump spell, trying to get to its next nearest enclosed target, which is probably that that elixir storage or that wizard tower up top or something above that. But if you'll see if he deploys the wall breaker just enough to the left, it will target that dark elixir drill instead of the edge of that jump spell because of the length of the path that wall breaker has to take, right? Kind of like that video showed, the number of tiles, something like 17 tiles worth of pathing or something. So you'll see sometimes it targets the jump spell, and then placing them slightly to the left will target that drill. So kind of interesting. Again, just trying to explain it as best I can. I guess lesson learned would be careful with jump spells in combination with wall breakers. Probably want to do the wall breakers first because they'll be more predictable that way. So that's about it for the jump spell. Excuse me. That's about it for the jump spell mechanics. Like I said, so. The other case that I did not cover in this video is when a wall is partially damaged, and when will a wall breaker target it? How damaged does it have to be? If your golem is beating on it or something, is the wall breaker going to target it? If you deploy one wall breaker and it partially blows up a wall, is another wall breaker going to target that same wall? I think so. There's something to that. I just can't find enough concrete evidence or solid information on it out there, which is unfortunate. I wish Supercell would provide a little bit more information as far as I go, so I can't really cover that right now. I can only guess. So yeah, that will be it for this video, guys. Appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, happy clashing.